Hey everybody, how's it? Geebz here, the Decomposer Lounge, the old composer, decomposing for you. Stone Temple Pilots, Big Empty. Yes, of course I know who Stone Temple Pilots is. I am doing this as a Throwback Thursday, however, I don't remember ever hearing this particular song. It came up a few times, Big Empty, but I did kind of start clicking through on Spotify some of their stuff and go, wow, I've heard a lot more of their music than I thought, being that my world as a media composer is the other side of the music industry. Whether I was in cars with my friends or parties or whatever it is that I was doing, you know, going through recording studios and hearing it in background on MTV, a lot of hooky stuff from the band. So I realized, well, I've heard a lot more of their music than I thought. Thank you so much for your support. Buy a cup of coffee for me, because you know this channel is not monetized. When these videos play and you see the ads, doesn't support the channel. That'd be super cool beans. It also helps what I do with the kids. Thank you so much for those of you who have joined me on Patreon, having a blast over there. So let's do this. Big Empty by Stone Temple Pilots. All right.
Driving faster in my car, falling farther from just what we are. Smoke a cigarette and lie some more. These conversations kill. Falling faster in my car. Time to take her home. Her dizzy head is contemplated. Time to take her ride. It leaves today, no conversation. Time to take her home. Her dizzy head is contemplated. Time to wait too long, to wait too long, to wait too long.
Love that laid back, sauntery opening, kind of like you're sitting in a 20-seater lounge, you know, just sipping out of a Mason bottle or something, you know, your Jack, or, you know, mine would be the Gentleman Jack. A couple things that really stand out for me in the opening is, like I said, it's a very laid-back introduction to the song, and it kind of brings you in on that, like, you know, kicking back, you're chilling, kind of a vibe and stuff. But the bass playing, I love the walking around and the melodic maneuvering that's happening there with the open bass line. And because the beginning engineering process of it is, because everything is so chill and intimate, that the engineering technique was to keep you nice and comfortable in that zone. You know, like you're literally sitting that far away, and as he starts to sing, that lower tone of his voice, you know, and the sensitivity of the mic that's able to pick up, you know, the nuances of his voice and stuff as the very opening performance starts, you know, to hit us, just starts to bloom. But that bass, all the bass work that's going on there, is just, it's like a telegraph, obviously in time, in a key, but it does send these little messages. It's almost like, to me, it felt like it's sending this little message to me. Now the next thing is the opening chord. So there's the nice steel string slide, not steel string, I'm sorry, but steel string guitar that's woven, it's strung in steel, not nylon. Nice, just sultry but salty but wonderful slide. But the opening chord that's being played when the vocal comes in has this dissonance to it. You might think there would be somewhat of a typical bluesy kind of minor 7 or something else that's happening there, the back and forth between the two chords. But on the first chord, it sounds like he's adding, I'm not super bitching it. I'm not like Rick Beato with this kind of stuff, but it sounds like you might be adding a flatted 5th or an 11th on there that gives it a dissonance, a very odd pull to it. you know, and that was super like, ooh, where are we going? Because I've already been in, you know, soaked into it with this bass line and stuff. And then of course when the power comes in, the whole elevation of the engineering and the power of the hook and everything, and that great melody comes in, and then it widens up and it really pops open and stuff. So already they brought you on this really cool journey, but I was already sucked in by, you know, the bottom end, the bass and the playing. Great slide playing and everything, and that first chord, I'm sure it'll repeat itself. Listen to the first chord he's playing, and listen to that dissonance of a note. If they repeat it again, I don't know. Here we go. All right.
Shoes worn thin, too much tripping and my soul's worn thin. Time to catch a ride, it leaves today. Her name is what it means. Too much walking, shoes worn thin. Time to take her home, her daisy head is contemplated. Time to take her ride, it leaves today, no conversation. Time to take her home, her daisy head is contemplated. Time to wait too long, to wait too long, to wait too long.
Okay, in typical fashion in songwriting, building, and layering, they obviously just expanded lightly another layer in the second verse with the acoustic guitar now holding more of a straighter rhythm. That note, that weird, not weird, but that diffused sounding chord was still happening there, which was great. Now you start hearing a little bit of nuance in the overdubs and the layering that's happening here. Something else too, and of course I'm doing the best I can listening to this for the first time. You know, when an engineer engineers a kit, and let's just say they engineer the kit based on the most powerful sections, so boom, bah, and let's say they set the reverbs or the plate or the room sound and the overheads at a certain thing. One of the super coolest but trickiest things to do is that when a drummer does something as what's happening here, which is taking the dynamics way down into in the verse, where it's just a very light-handed, you know, very light-handed moves and stuff like that, but it doesn't quite trigger and open up any of the post effects as much as it does when you hit that snare. That post effect gets fired and you get it, you know, you get a big fat response to it. It seems that's like what's happening here. I wasn't there, I don't know what the engineering's like, but since I do everything by ear and with my experience, when the drummers can pull back, you know, there's not a change of EQ, a change of ambience that's happening there. It's just that the drummer has lightened up on the velocity. Therefore, the triggering of the ambience, be it if it was done the post way, you know, where they add, you know, whether it's a hall, a plate, a room, or a reflection or something, doesn't really get kicked in unless, you know, you pound it. So as soon as they come in with the power of the hook and the drums in there, and that snare hits, it just splashes ambience out there. And it really marries well with the guitar overdubs that are being done to give you that big fat left-right. Then we have some classic Stone Temple Pilot harmonies that are happening there that no matter where you are in the world, with what few songs I've ever listened to, I always knew Stone Temple Pilots. There's that harmony right there. So, all right, let's continue on.
Conversations kill. Conversations kill. Conversations kill.
man, do I love that little breakdown that you would consider that's kind of like a bridge turnaround before they went back into the hook and then out, which was just that doom, 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 and I was expecting to hear maybe a vocal there or something, but they just wanted to deliver, it seemed like, just some kind of a reset, like a palate break. You know, they fed you all this really great stuff, and then they just want to say, hey, whoop, let's chill out before we bring the hook back in. And something else about the hook that you know makes a lot of songs enjoyable, just in my point of view as the old Decomposer. In a hook, or the chorus, as most people would know it, is that there is a repeated phrase melodically. It might be a whole series of notes, and it repeats. You have the first half of it. The second half will be a variation of that. But in this case, there's really only two notes in the hook that stuck me hard. And that was that nice interval at the very beginning that he sang. And that repeats. And that is the art form of songwriting, with the intention of bringing people into your sonic world as a producer, composer, songwriter, and stuff like that. You know, that's how most of us have learned how to write songs, is that you have the intro, you have a verse, you maybe have a little turnaround, then you have a chorus, and then another intro, another verse, another little turnaround, a chorus, and a bridge and a chorus out. And it's that thing that is repetitive. And, you know, with a lot of the more prog rock stuff that I do here, a lot of that has to do with riffs and musicianship. You know, especially when you start getting into songs that are 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes long, a lot of the hookiness has to do with the rhythmic value. The video that I just released asking the question, do you listen to lyrics or music first when you're getting brought into a song? I'm really elated by some of the, quite a bit of the comments, which is that if I don't feel it within a certain amount of time, I click next. I guess it's a lot like when you're my age and you're listening to radio back in the 60s and the 70s, and the song comes on and you go, that ain't moving me. You're not even waiting around for the lyrics, or you're not even waiting around for a hook. So a lot of times musical hooks play an important factor in composition. And then if you're lucky enough and you get a musical hook and a great vocal hook and then the great musicianship and all that, you just get a bomb of a song, you know, that works for you in your soundtrack of life and stuff. Anyhow, thank you so much for hanging out here for my Throwback Thursday here. Stone Temple Pilots, Big Empty. Super mahalo if you guys do decide to buy me a cup of coffee. I can't talk. I drank too much coffee already. I'm drinking a lot of Death Wish coffee. Fire. The link for the Spotify Stone Temple Pilots and merch will be down below, as well as the link for the cup of coffee, if you see so fit. All right, guys, take care. Aloha. All right.